Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the CD guy, Johnny Z here. Thank you so much for tuning back into the channel. Hope you guys are having a great long Memorial Day weekend. I sure am, and that's because Iron Maiden have started their tour. The Future Past tour has begun in Slovenia. They performed their first show, and I'm here to talk about everything pertaining to Iron Maiden and the Future Past tour today. Diving into the set list, I can't wait. So, that said, let's get into it with track number one. I guess I should say off the top here, spoiler alert, I will be spoiling the set list here. I'll be going down the track listing, sharing my thoughts on each track and the stage show as well. So all the information here that you might not want to have leaked, might not want to know about before you see Maiden live on this tour, I'm going to be talking about all of that. So you've been forewarned. Spoiler alert here for this video. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I'd suggest that you do not continue watching because I will be going through everything pertaining to the Future Past tour that we have seen from the first show. First off, we have the Blade Runner intro before Caught Somewhere in Time, the title track to Somewhere in Time, one of the albums that will be highlighted on this tour. Really great to have the Blade Runner intro back right into Somewhere in Time. Awesome stuff there, and a great touch, right, going back to the Somewhere in Time tour from 1986. Incredible song, great title track here, and this is the first time it's been performed live since 1987, and it sounded fantastic. I watched some clips already. The crowd was on fire for it, right, singing along to every verse. Bruce looked really cool up there with some kind of a futuristic look with sunglasses and this kind of brown kind of a cloak, so really cool looking, and of course the band, look and sound fantastic. Great stuff here, and an awesome way to kick off the set with Caught Somewhere in Time. Great stuff here by Maiden for track number one. Sticking with Somewhere in Time for track number two, we have Stranger in a Strange Land. Now, this track was kind of given away a few days ago by Iron Maiden's social media team when they had posted on, I believe on their Twitter page, a video of Stranger in a Strange Land Eddie from the cover art for the single Stranger in a Strange Land. So I kind of figured this was going to be on here, but nevertheless, great to hear it live once again for the first time since 1999 on the Ed Hunter tour. So for the first time in decades, Stranger in a Strange Land back in the set list. Eddie comes out dressed just like he was on the cover art for the single Stranger in a Strange Land, which is awesome, and another great performance here. Bruce sounds fantastic, really doing a fantastic job of pulling off these songs that he hasn't performed in decades as well. So I thought that was really impressive, and super happy to see this track back in the set as well. Great 1-2 punch here from Somewhere in Time with Caught Somewhere in Time, the title track, and then Stranger in a Strange Land featuring Eddie. Senjutsu was the other album that was going to be featured prominently here on this tour, right? Their most recent studio album. I was going to say their final studio album, but I hope not. But their most recent studio record here from 2021. So I figured it'd be pretty heavy on Senjutsu stuff as well. However, for track number three here, we have Writing on the Wall, which, let me say, right off the bat, I enjoy Writing on the Wall. I thought it was great when it first dropped as a lead single, but, now, a couple of years later, I've heard it, to death. I think at this point, it's a bit overplayed and maybe just a tad overrated. So did it have to be in the set list here? Personally, I don't think so. I don't necessarily need to hear it live once again. They could have gone with another track from Senjutsu in its place, but I'm not going to complain. Writing on the Wall is a fine song. The crowd seems to be really into it, so, I dig it. I just kind of think that they could have gone with something else from Senjutsu for track number three. For track number four, we have the live debut of Days of Future Past off the Senjutsu album, and this was a no-brainer for the setlist considering the tour is named the Future Past Tour, so I absolutely expected the song to be in the set, and, it's one of those shorter, more compact modern Maiden songs that definitely does remind me a bit of, classic Maiden from the 80s, and I believe Bruce has even said that Days of Future Past is one of the closest things you're going to get to 80s Maiden on, one of the more modern albums, so I really enjoy this track. I think it's a great throwback in that sense. So it absolutely does fit in this set list here, and it's one of my favorites from Senjutsu, so great stuff here for track number four. Continuing on now with another track from the Senjutsu record, make its live debut, we have The Time Machine. Now, this is a song that took me a while to really warm up to. I didn't love it at first, but, over time I started to gravitate towards it more and more, and, it's different. It was very un-Maiden-like at first, I think, but the more I've heard it, the more I really enjoy it. I think it's really unique, so I love it for its uniqueness, and, shows the range that Maiden have. So I really do enjoy The Time Machine, and I'm glad they're finally doing it live to follow the Days of Future Past and Writing on the Wall. So the third song in a row here from the Senjutsu record. Like I said, it's the first time being performed live, and it does really fit in the set list, because you have the Future Past tour, so it's very futuristic, right? Time Machine is about going back in time and somewhere in time, things like that. So it definitely does fit in that aspect of it, so I really think it's a great choice for track number five here on the live set for the new set list. Got to go with The Time Machine. So that said, awesome stuff, and great to finally hear this song live, and I'm just happy that a lot of these Senjutsu songs that were not played on, the final leg of the Legacy of the Beast tour are now finally being played and getting their time in the Maiden set list here for this new tour. So I think that's really cool. So that can be said as well for Days of Future Past. I'm really digging the set list so far. We're 5 tracks in. We've got 2 from Somewhere in Time and 3 so far from Senjutsu. Really, really cool stuff. Well, this one is really out of left field. I guess they weren't kidding when they said you are number 6. For tracks number 6, we have The Prisoner here off of Number of the Beast. I was not expecting this one at all. For the first time live since 2014, a welcome addition back into the Iron Maiden setlist is The Prisoner. One of the more underrated songs from Number of the Beast, in my opinion, but has remained, an on-and-off staple over the years, and, one of the Iron Maiden fan base's favorite songs, right? Always goes over really well live. The crowd are always really, really into it. So, hoping that eventually when this tour comes to North America, I'm going to get to hear The Prisoner live for the first time, in my experience seeing Maiden, so that would just be fantastic. Like I said, they have not played this song live in almost 10 years, so it's almost been a decade, but great to have The Prisoner back in the set. One of my favorite songs from Number of the Beast. Back to Senjutsu now for Death of the Celts. Now, this song is very similar in lyricism to The Klansman off of Virtual 11, and The Klansman seems to be one of the only Blaze Bayley songs that they were including in the set list for a long time. It was a staple on the Legacy of the Beast tour, so if they were going to be taking The Klansman out of the set list, it makes sense that they would put in Death of the Celts. Very similar in lyrics, like I said, so definitely does fit right in here. And of course, the live debut, another great song from Senjutsu. One of the lengthier songs off of this record, but another welcome addition as far as I'm concerned. I really dig this track quite a bit and consider it to be the Klansman 2.0, this time with Bruce on lead vocals. So I think that's awesome, and I'm glad to have it in the set list alongside a few other tracks here from Senjutsu that are being performed live for the first time. Moving on now to the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son album from 1988 with Can I Play With Madness for track number 8 here. To be honest, probably my least favorite song from Seventh Son, just a very commercial, accessible song for Iron Maiden at the time, and pales in comparison to some of the other tracks on this record. So I do feel like in this set list, while it's great to have it back in the set after not being performed live since 2014, I really would have gone with something else from Seventh Son in its place, but I'm not going to get too upset over it. I'm not going to complain. What's great is the variety in the set list, that they're not just focusing on Somewhere in Time and Senjutsu, but also with Seventh Son of a Seventh Son being included here with Can I Play With Madness. You gotta love that. So I'm not going to complain about it, like I said, even though, not one of my favorite tracks from this album, which is, in my opinion, their second best record, behind A Matter of Life and Death, which might be an unpopular opinion, but for me, probably don't need to hear Can I Play With Madness live again, but it is what it is. I'm not going to get too upset over it. This set list is just getting more and more epic as we go on. For track number 9, Heaven Can Wait, off of Somewhere in Time. Back to this classic album here. Great live song, being performed live for the first time since 2008, which, I don't know why, it should always be in the Maiden set list, in my opinion. Great crowd sing-along. Love Bruce's vocals here and the lyrics as well. Eddie comes out as Cyborg Eddie from the cover of the Somewhere in Time album. Looks fantastic and continues to get abused by the band. It wasn't bad enough they shot him during the Legacy of the Beast tour. Now he gets shot with a cannon. I mean, just really, really great. The stage show might not be as highbrow as it was for Legacy of the Beast, but it's still there, and Eddie continues to get tortured by the band every single tour. Gotta love that. But Heaven Can Wait is back in the set list, and it sounds incredible in my opinion. So another song that I'm really happy to have back in the set. I'd love to hear it live for the first time if they do come to North America, being performed live for the first time since 2008. Just really, really awesome stuff that I'm glad finally returned to the Iron Maiden live set. It finally happened for the first time ever. Its live debut, Alexander the Great. I could not be more thrilled about this. If there was one song that I felt was an absolute lock for this tour, it was Alexander the Great off of Somewhere in Time, because, why go back and do Somewhere in Time and be, so heavily promoting this record if you're not going to do the one song that everybody wants to hear live off of this album and it's never been performed live before, and you're promising, rarities or songs that haven't been played live in a long time. You got to do Alexander the Great, right? And they absolutely did, and it sounded fantastic. Bruce's vocals, he pulled it off. The band sounded incredible and really tight, too, for a song that was considered to be pretty difficult to be replicated live. They did an awesome job here, and I could not be happier with the result of the live debut of Alexander the Great. The epic to close out Somewhere in Time finally makes its way into the Iron Maiden setlist. Finally, since 1986, it has been elusive and has not been included in the Maiden set. Now, finally, we've got it live on the Future Past tour. great stuff. Awesome news to report, and I cannot wait to hear this song live myself. Track 11, Fear of the Dark, has the hard task of following up the live debut of Alexander the Great, and, for me, I'm really not, thrilled with Fear of the Dark being in the set list once again. Yes, it's been a live staple for years, and yes, the big crowd sing along, the crowd loves this track, and, it is fun when you're there live and you sing along to Fear of the Dark. It's pretty infectious, but, this tour was something that was promising, some rarities and never before played tracks. Fear of the Dark is the opposite of that, and maybe an unpopular opinion, but I feel like it's a bit overplayed by Iron Maiden. So, on a tour like this, I didn't necessarily need to have Fear of the Dark in the set list, although, again, I'm not complaining here, just nitpicking. I think you could have put something else that was a little bit deeper in the set list than Fear of the Dark, but nevertheless, fans want to hear some classic live staples as well that have been in the set list for a long time. Fear of the Dark is one of those tracks that always gets the crowd going, so in that sense, I understand why they included it, but for me, I could have foregone Fear of the Dark for this tour, but maybe that's just me. It's the end of the main set list here with Iron Maiden. Of course, they have to do this live. What's really cool is you get a giant inflatable Stratego Eddie, as well as a walking Senjutsu Eddie up on stage. So 2 Eddies here on stage for Iron Maiden. Of course, great live anthemic song. You really can't have a Maiden set list without it, although, I feel like maybe you could have put something else in its place. This is a song that Maiden are 10 out of 10 times going to be putting in the set list, so it's one of those songs that, Maiden just will never remove from the set, and Fear of the Dark seems to be the same way as well. I'm not complaining, though. Iron Maiden is a classic song from their debut here, and the 2 Eddies on stage looked really cool as well. The band are back on stage, and the encore begins with Hell on Earth. I'm so thrilled this is in the set list. It's my favorite song from Senjutsu, an incredible album closer for this record, and I gotta be honest, as the set list was going on, I was getting a little concerned that they weren't going to be doing this live, but I was wrong. Why should I ever doubt Iron Maiden? Hell on Earth is in the set list. Of course, it sounds fantastic. It sounds even better live than it did on the album, in my opinion, and it's one of those songs that when I heard it for the first time, I thought, this is going to be a great live track, and I was 100% right in that regard, right? A fantastic song here, and it translated really well to a live setting. Very happy to say that Hell on Earth is in the live set here for the Future Past tour. Like I said, it's my favorite off of Senjutsu. After that, predictably, no Iron Maiden concert can be complete without the Trooper off of Peace of Mind. Great live song, always has been, an absolute classic, and, my stream that I was watching was from the perspective of a mosh pit, so a little dizzy after watching that, but fantastic performance of the Trooper as always, and still a welcome fit to the set, even though this tour is focusing more on deeper tracks, deep cut, things of that nature. It's the Trooper. Come on, you gotta have it in the Iron Maiden set list, so absolutely no complaints from me. And the final track here of the night to end the encore is Wasted Years. My God, what a great set list here, a fantastic show. I'm going to talk all about the set in just a minute here, but Wasted Years, of course, a great live track, very anthemic for Maiden, and from the Somewhere in Time album, a perfect live set closer, in my opinion. Again, my stream was from the perspective of inside of a mosh pit, so I saw some dude get dropped right on his head, and then the moshing just kind of stopped right after that, so I was able to get a clear view, I guess you could say, of the performance of Wasted Years. Really great, once again, an absolute classic, and makes sense that they would include it here in the set list, seeing that it's always been a great anthemic track for Maiden, like I said before, and it's from Somewhere in Time, so it's pretty apropos to close out the set list. So, that said, let's review the set list in full here. You can see the set list posted right over here. They kick things off with Caught Somewhere in Time, then Stranger in a Strange Land, The Writing on the Wall, Days of Future Past, The Time Machine, The Prisoner, Death of the Celts, Can I Play with Madness, Heaven Can Wait, Alexander the Great, Finally, Fear of the Dark, Iron Maiden, then the encore begins, Hell on Earth, The Trooper, and Wasted Years. 15 tracks here in total. What a fantastic set list here by Iron Maiden. In my opinion, the best Maiden set list in years, and yes, I will be talking about some songs that they left out here, but nevertheless, focusing on the songs that they did put in here, Maiden are not a band that, are, heavily reliant on nostalgia, I don't think, anymore, and, if you're a band that it continues to put out great new albums like Maiden has done with Book of Souls and then Senjutsu, they're a group that are always evolving and moving forward, but when you get the chance to do a set list that shines a light on some lesser played tracks and things of that nature, it's always really cool to see, and it's fantastic to have, some great songs from Somewhere in Time finally brought back into the set, some of them maybe even played for the first time, like Alexander the Great, and then to have some of the longer songs from Senjutsu being included here as well, from their new album, showing that they still do have a lot to offer from their newer material. That's great as well, so I thought there was a great balance here in terms of the classic material and the new stuff on this tour, which is going to be what the Future Past tour is really all about, so I thought that was a fantastic way to kind of balance out the set list. And as for what wasn't included on here, of course, some of the biggest songs that were missing: Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, right? Hallowed Be Thy Name. I don't know how they didn't include Hallowed Be Thy Name. That would be my one gripe about this set list, and I'm not one to complain about Iron Maiden, but they left out Hallowed Be Thy Name, and I really cannot believe that. And then, the other song they left out was Number of the Beast, as well as, bunch of other songs that you could have, plugged in there from the Legacy of the Beast tour, like, something like along the lines of, say, Revelations or Flight of Icarus, something like that. But for me, I love the variety of this set list, and that's what I've been looking for in Iron Maiden's set list since, the Legacy of the Beast tour started. It was a 4-year tour, so to have this kind of variety in the set list is great. My one nitpick, I would have put Hallowed Be Thy Name in the set, but you know what? It's all good, man. We have Alexander the Great finally being performed live, some stuff from Senjutsu being done live, and some great material as well from Somewhere in Time, in addition to Alexander the Great finally seeing the light of day in their live set once again. So it's all great stuff here. Really not, too much to complain about. Just that one nitpick about Hallowed Be Thy Name, but in general here, it's an awesome set list, and I absolutely cannot wait until they come to North America so I can see Maiden live on this tour. That would be I believe my 7th time seeing Maiden live if they were to come to North America with this tour, which I'm sure they will. I'm assuming they'll announce dates for 2024 for North America, and I'm so there. But great stuff here by Maiden, in my opinion. Thrilled with the set list. I thought the concert sounded great, and just in general here, very pleased with what Maiden gave us here as the first show in 2023, kicking off the Future Past tour. Everything sounds fantastic, looks great visually as well, so thumbs up all the way around. So that wraps up my review and set list reveal here for the Future Past tour by Iron Maiden. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, turn on the bell for notifications so you never miss a new upload. And until next time, it's the CD guy, Johnny Z, signing off. Take care, everybody.